Welcome to Karma Chronicles. Please like the video and subscribe. Let's begin.
I threw myself a big birthday bash, my first one ever. I figured if I made it a real event, people would show up and maybe, just maybe, I'd finally feel noticed. I spent weeks planning, booking the trampoline park, picking out the catering, designing invites, and paying for everything out of pocket. I even invited 87 people. I wanted this to be the day where I mattered. The day came, and it was a bust from the start. Only 5 people showed up: my parents, my cousin Kelly, my little brother, and the hired photographer. That's it. The photographer wasn't even a real guest, just there for the job. I kept checking the clock, waiting for someone else to walk through the door. My mom kept saying people were just late. The place was flexible, but the hours ticked by and no one came. At around 7:30, my mom walked out carrying a cake with sparkly pink and blue icing. "Happy engagement, Lisa, plus Kyle," it said. I blinked, staring at the cake for a good minute. My stomach twisted as I pieced it together. They had hijacked my party. It wasn't even about me anymore. It was for Lisa's engagement, and they hadn't bothered to tell me. No warning, no heads up. They'd used my celebration as a backdrop for something they didn't even ask me about. And I was supposed to just smile and be happy for them? I felt a rush of heat and anger, but I couldn't even bring myself to say anything. Instead, I stood there, trapped in the cruelest version of my own party, pretending everything was fine when it was all falling apart around me. I sat through the rest of the party, quietly fuming, watching Lisa and Kyle pose for engagement pictures. They were all smiles, their hands clasped together, their faces lit up like they were the only people in the room. I kept my eyes on them, but it felt like I was watching someone else's life, not mine. No one even glanced at me. No one acknowledged that it was my birthday, that this was supposed to be my day. I looked around the room, trying to make sense of it. The few guests who trickled in were crowded around Lisa, chatting and laughing. It felt like I was crashing my own party, like I didn't belong here at all. Mom stood by the cake, raising a glass and a toast. "To young love," she said, her voice all syrupy sweetness, a fake warmth that made my skin crawl. She never mentioned my name, not once, like I didn't exist. The crowd shifted, swarming around Lisa and Kyle, as if they were the sun and everyone else were just planets caught in their orbit. I couldn't even get a word in. I checked the time again, hoping I was wrong, hoping people were just stuck in traffic or something. But it was nearly 8 now, and more people had come, but not for me. They came for Lisa. I stepped aside and pulled out my phone, fingers trembling slightly as I typed out a few quick messages. "Where are you?" "What's going on?" A couple of friends replied, but none of it made sense. One of them, a coworker, responded, "Your mom said it was just a small family thing." I froze, the blood drained from my face as the words sank in. They'd done it on purpose. My mom and Lisa had intentionally redirected my guests. They'd told them it was just a family gathering. Nothing special, nothing to see. They'd used my birthday, my party, to build a damn engagement event and didn't even have the decency to tell anyone. My stomach churned, nausea rising up like bile in my throat. I looked back at the crowd, at my parents laughing with Lisa, at the photographer snapping photos, capturing every perfect moment for the engagement announcement. I was invisible. I didn't even exist in this moment. This was it, wasn't it? This was how it always was. I put my phone down, but my hands were still shaking, the anger bubbling up in me, the frustration too much to hold in. I wanted to scream, to grab my mom by the shoulders and shake her until she understood what she'd done. But I didn't. I stayed quiet, keeping everything buried inside, because that's what I'd always done. Keep quiet, let things slide, and try to keep the peace. But today, I couldn't do it anymore. I've always been the one in the background. Even as a kid, I was never the one everyone talked about. Lisa was always the star. She was the cheer captain, the homecoming queen, the one who could walk into any room and have everyone's eyes on her. She had that thing, the spark. People noticed her without even trying. It wasn't that I resented her for it, not exactly. I just knew my place. I was the tag-along sister, expected to help, to support, to never compete. It was fine. I knew what I was good at, staying out of the way. But there were moments, little moments, when I wished I could have a turn at the front of the room, wished I could be the one everyone turned to for a change. I remember when I was 16. I had a crush on Kyle. We'd been friends for a while, close enough that I felt comfortable talking to him about anything. I figured I could tell my family. They'd be supportive, right? So one night at dinner, I brought it up. I might ask Kyle out. I said, trying to sound casual. It wasn't a big deal, but it felt big to me. Lisa snorted. You're kidding, right? She said, like it was the most ridiculous thing she'd ever heard. Mom jumped in immediately. He's probably looking for someone more polished, honey, she said, like she was just being practical. Polished. I felt my face flush hot, but I stayed quiet. I didn't argue. I didn't tell them that maybe, just maybe, Kyle might like me too. Instead, I kept that to myself, buried it down deep, and I never told him. 2 years later, Kyle and Lisa started dating. It wasn't a big moment, it was just the next step in their inevitable story. Everyone acted like it was the most natural thing in the world. She's just got that spark, my mom said, her voice full of that same tired admiration. And just like that, I was forgotten. No one ever asked how I felt. No one ever asked if I wanted to be with him, if I had any feelings at all. I was just expected to be okay with it, because that's what I'd always been. The supporting character, the backdrop. I watched them together, day after day, and pretended it didn't bother me. I watched as they went to prom together, as they laughed and held hands in front of me, and I never once told them how much it hurt. I'd learned early on that pain like that was something you swallowed. It didn't matter. Nothing ever mattered more than Lisa's spark. I've been living in her shadow my whole life. And I guess I always will be, as long as she keeps standing in the light. But that night, at the party, I couldn't stay silent anymore. Not when they'd taken everything. Not when my own birthday wasn't even enough to matter. I felt like a ghost, just floating through their perfect world, watching them live out their love story without a single thought about me. I don't know why it took so long to snap. Maybe it was all the years of being ignored, of being told to be happy for her, of never being allowed to exist outside of her spotlight. But when I sat there, watching them take over my celebration, I realized something. I'd never get my turn unless I took it. 10 years later, I ran into Kyle again. He was working at the same automotive supply chain company I had just started at. A coincidence that felt too heavy to ignore. I didn't expect anything to come of it. After all, he was Lisa's boyfriend now, and always had been. But when we bumped into each other in the break room and caught up, it was like we had never missed a beat. We laughed, we joked. It was just like old times. We slipped back into that easy rhythm we'd had before everything changed. I didn't think much of it at first. We were both adults now, two separate lives that had intersected again in the strangest way. But over the next few weeks, those lunch breaks turned into long conversations, a quick text here and there. It was nice. I found myself looking forward to them. Maybe, just maybe, this was it. My second shot, the one I'd been waiting for without even knowing I was waiting. I told Lisa about it, figuring she'd be cool with it. After all, it was just lunch, right? Just a couple of old friends catching up. But when I brought it up, her reaction was off. She didn't seem happy, but she didn't seem mad either. It was more like she was pretending not to care, like she was acting like it wasn't a big deal. Yeah, okay, she said, after a long pause. I mean, feel him out, I guess. Feel him out? Like it was a job interview or something? It was just a weird response, especially coming from her. But I shrugged it off. 2 weeks later, I saw the first couple photo on Instagram. Kyle and Lisa, all smiles with a caption that made my stomach drop. Hashtag forever and always. My heart twisted. It wasn't just that they were dating, it was that she'd taken him. Again. And here I was, feeling like a fool for even thinking I had a shot. I confronted her, my hands trembling as I typed out the message. What the hell, Lisa? You said you didn't care. You told me to feel him out. What is this? She replied almost immediately, casual like nothing was wrong. It just happened, she said, like it was the most natural thing in the world, like I was crazy for thinking otherwise. I saw red. It just happened? I shot back. After everything, after how you've always had to have everything, it just happened. And that was when Mom decided to step in. Don't make a scene, honey, she said, her voice coming through loud and clear in the group chat. Kyle's always liked Lisa. You knew that. It's not her fault I could feel the blood rising in my face. I could hear her words echo in my head. It's not her fault. Like I was the one who had been in the wrong this whole time. I could see them all, my family, standing behind Lisa, cheering her on, like she hadn't already taken everything I'd ever wanted. My own mother, backing her up. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. I had to get out of there. The air felt thick, like I couldn't see straight. How was it that every time I thought I might have a chance, she was there, waiting to steal it from me? I'd been patient, I'd been understanding, but this was different. It felt like the last straw. Yeah, it's fine, I typed back, my fingers barely holding the phone. You always pick her. I get it, and I did get it. I always had. I went home that night, the anger still bubbling in me, and sat down at my desk. My fingers hovered over the keyboard for a second, but I didn't hesitate. I opened a new email, addressed it to my parents and Lisa, and got to work. I didn't need to get dramatic. I didn't need to yell or cry. I just needed to state the facts. I itemized everything: venue rental, cake, catering, photographer. I attached the receipts. The total was $2,850. I read it over, checked the math, then typed a short, calm sentence. Since the event was intentionally repurposed for Lisa and Kyle's engagement, I'm requesting reimbursement for the full cost of the event. That was it. No excess words. Just the cold reality of what had happened. I hit send and leaned back in my chair, feeling a strange mix of relief and exhaustion. The first voicemail from Mom came 2 hours later, then another, then another. By the fifth, I'd stopped listening. The voicemails were all the same. Why are you doing this? It's just a party. Can't you just let it go? You're tearing the family apart over something so small. I didn't respond. I couldn't bring myself to. I was done hearing their excuses. Then Lisa jumped in. I didn't expect her to call me, but she didn't need to. She texted the family group chat. Guess she wants money because no one showed up. I read it once, twice. My fingers twitched on the phone. Then I typed a reply. You told them not to come. I hit send without thinking about it. The truth was too obvious, too undeniable. I wasn't going to let her twist this into something it wasn't. Then I did something that felt both petty and necessary. I took screenshots. I opened up the texts from my coworkers, the ones who'd been confused, who'd sent me messages saying they hadn't gotten the real invite. The ones that confirmed what I already knew. My family had deliberately lied to everyone about why they couldn't come. I posted the screenshots in the family chat, all the texts, the alternate invites with Lisa and Kyle's names on them. There was no room left for denial. My phone went quiet for a while after that. No new messages from Lisa or Mom. I guess they didn't know how to spin the truth anymore. I didn't feel the satisfaction I thought I would. Instead, I felt empty, like the moment I'd been waiting for had finally come and gone, and nothing had really changed. They'd still do whatever they wanted. They'd still put Lisa first, but I wasn't going to pretend anymore. Not for them. Not for anyone. The next day, Kyle showed up at my office. I didn't expect it, didn't even know what to make of it when he walked in. His face was all screwed up, confused and upset. Why didn't you tell me it was your birthday? He asked like he was trying to piece something together, but couldn't. I stared at him for a second, not sure how to answer. The words felt too big, like if I started talking, I wouldn't be able to stop. But I had to. I owed him an answer. I didn't even know it was an engagement party, I said, the words coming out flat, like I'd been holding them in for way too long. He blinked, the realization hitting him like a punch to the gut. Wait, so you thought it was just your birthday party? I nodded, my throat tightening. He stopped himself, running a hand through his hair. I thought it was a dual celebration. That's why I didn't think anything was weird. I couldn't help it. I laughed, but it was more like a scoff, bitter and dry. Yeah, well, no one bothered to tell me. Not until after the cake came out with Lisa's name on it. He didn't say anything right away, his mouth open like he was going to apologize, but the words seemed stuck. He sat down across from me, his eyes scanning the room like he was trying to understand what had just happened. Look, Kyle, I said, my voice steadier now, but still raw. I liked you. Back then, I never told you, but I did. I never told you because of Lisa. He blinked again, a long silence stretching between us. It was like the weight of what I was saying was finally catching up with him. What do you mean? He asked like he wasn't sure what I was getting at. I mean, she always got to have you. I was just supposed to sit back and watch. I felt my breath catch. But I wasn't stopping now. I liked you then, but I never said anything because I knew she'd swoop in and take you away from me. Like she always does. And now, again, she's with you, and I'm still here, watching it happen. Kyle was staring at me now, his face frozen. He didn't say anything for what felt like an eternity. I could see it in his eyes, though, like something was finally clicking in his mind. The pieces were falling into place. Lisa, he started, his voice low, like he was speaking more to himself than to me. She always acted like I was just part of the package with her, like I didn't matter outside of her. He shook his head, looking at me like he'd never seen me before. I never realized you felt like this. I nodded. Yeah, well, it's hard to ignore, you know? His gaze softened, but then he stood up quickly, like he had a decision to make but wasn't sure what it was. I, I didn't know, he said. His words slow, deliberate. He sounded almost apologetic, but I wasn't sure how much I believed it. I'll leave you to it, he added quietly. I think I need to go. Before I could say anything else, he turned and walked out, leaving me there with 100 thoughts spinning in my head. I didn't know what to feel, what to think. Part of me wanted to scream at him for never seeing me, for never noticing. Another part of me was just tired, tired of it all. But that moment, the way he looked at me like the truth was finally hitting him, was something I couldn't shake. Lisa called me 5 times after Kyle left. I didn't answer the first 4, but by the 5th, I couldn't ignore it anymore. I picked up the phone, pressing it against my ear, the anger already bubbling up. What the hell did you tell him? She snapped, her voice sharp and loaded with accusation. You've been sabotaging me for years. I could feel the laugh building in my chest, a bitter, empty sound that I couldn't stop. You did this to yourself, I said, my voice almost casual, like I didn't even care anymore. There was a long pause on the other end. I could practically hear her struggling to hold it together. You've always been jealous, she finally muttered. Always acting like you deserved everything that was mine. I shook my head, the absurdity of it all making me dizzy. It's not about you, Lisa. It never was. It's about you always getting everything, and I'm just supposed to sit back and smile and clap for you. I hung up before she could say anything else. I didn't need to hear it. I didn't need to hear her spin it again, turn it around, make me feel like I was the problem. I blocked her number. It felt so damn good. I went through all my accounts, the ones that tied me to them, canceled the auto pay on my parents' bills, removed my name from the family Spotify account. It was small stuff, but it felt huge. Every little thing, every action that cut the ties just a little more, was a piece of the weight lifting off my chest. Kyle didn't text me after that. I didn't expect him to. I figured he needed space, time to figure out whatever was going on in his head. He was probably trying to piece everything together, just like I had been for years, but I didn't chase him. I wasn't about to beg for someone else's crumbs. Mom texted me the next day. Don't do anything you can't take back, she said, the words ringing with the familiar guilt trip that she always used. It was her way of pulling me back in, trying to make me doubt myself. But this time, I didn't doubt. Too late. I stared at the screen for a moment before I deleted the message. I wasn't going to second-guess myself anymore. I wasn't going to beg for their love or attention. I was done. Done being the one who always gave in, always let it slide. It was too late for that, and I wasn't going back. Kyle showed up at my door late that night. No warning, no texts, nothing. I was sitting on the couch, scrolling through my phone, when I heard a knock. At first, I thought it was my imagination, but when I got up to answer it, there he was, standing in the doorway, looking uncertain and out of place. Hey, he said, like he wasn't sure how to start. I stood there for a second, not sure what to do with the emotions tangled up in my chest. What's going on? I asked, my voice flat. He took a deep breath before speaking, his hands shoved into his pockets like he was trying to hold himself together. I've been thinking about everything. About what you said? He paused like he was choosing his words carefully. I'm not in love with Lisa. I never was. I just convinced myself my stomach flipped, and I wasn't sure if it was relief or anger or something else entirely. What are you saying? I'm saying I want to start fresh. With you. Dinner sometime, just us. No distractions. No old baggage. His eyes met mine, steady, searching. It was like I couldn't breathe for a second. I'd imagined this moment 100 times, but I never thought it would feel so real, so heavy. I nodded, my throat tight. Yeah, I'd like that, he smiled, and it felt like a weight lifted between us. He stepped forward, and I didn't pull away as he kissed me. It wasn't dramatic, no grand declarations or fiery passion, but it felt right. It felt like something I'd been waiting for without even knowing it. A soft, quiet beginning. But then the knock came, loud, sharp, demanding. I froze, my hand still on Kyle's chest as we pulled apart. I barely had time to register what was happening before the door flew open. And there she was, Lisa. Her face was red, her eyes wild, like she was on the verge of something. "What the hell is going on?" she hissed, her voice shaking with fury. She stepped into the apartment without waiting for an invitation. I stood up straight, my stomach tightening. "Lisa, what are you doing here?" Her eyes scanned the room, locking on Kyle, and her gaze hardened. "You're wearing his shirt?" She spat at me, pointing to the faded tee Kyle was still wearing. "What the hell is this?" I stood my ground, refusing to shrink back. "He's not your man," I said, my voice sharp. "He's not property." She didn't even give me a chance to breathe before her hand swung at my face. It was a blur, and before I could even react, I felt the sting across my cheek. My heart pounded, but I didn't move. I didn't flinch. Kyle stepped between us, his hand firm on Lisa's arm as he turned to face her. "That's enough, Lisa," he said, his voice low but steady. "You need to leave." Now Lisa's face twisted with rage, but she didn't argue. She yanked her arm out of Kyle's grasp, glaring at both of us like we'd ruined her entire world. "You think this is the answer? You think I won't get everything I want?" she shouted, her voice breaking. "You'll see. I'll make you regret this," she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I stood there, still trying to process what had just happened, feeling the sting of her slap on my skin. Kyle turned back to me, his expression softening as he touched the side of my face, gently brushing his thumb over where she'd hit me. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice soft. I nodded, even though it stung. "Yeah, I'm fine." He didn't say anything else, but there was a kind of quiet understanding between us now. The air felt different, less heavy, like we were finally standing on the same side. The next day, my parents showed up at my apartment, knocking like they had some right to be there. I wasn't surprised, but the timing still made my skin crawl. I opened the door, and they didn't waste any time. My mom walked in like she was on a mission, Dad trailing behind her, both of them looking like they'd rehearsed this moment. "Lisa's devastated," Mom started, her voice a mix of fake sorrow and thinly veiled anger. "She's been crying all day, and you've torn this family apart." Dad didn't say anything right away, just stood there with that disappointed look on his face, the one that always made me feel like I was the problem. "You've destroyed everything," he finally muttered, shaking his head. "I can't believe you did this." I felt a laugh bubble up, but it came out dry, bitter. "I didn't do anything." "You did." I stepped back, motioning around the apartment. "I paid for the party. I did everything for my birthday, and you turned it into her engagement party without even asking me." I stared at them, not backing down. "You've ignored me my whole life, and now you're trying to make me the villain?" Mom's eyes flashed with frustration, like I was twisting the narrative. "This isn't just about that one night," she said, her voice rising. "You're being selfish. Lisa needs us. She's the one who needs our support now. And you—" "No," I interrupted, holding up my hand. "I'm tired of being the one who has to support everyone else, no matter how wrong they are. You always pick her, even when she's wrong, even when she hurts me. You let her walk all over me, and you just expect me to be fine with it." The words came out before I could stop them, and I felt something shift inside me, something breaking loose that had been tied down for years. I watched as their faces went blank, as the truth hit them like a punch to the gut. They stood there, speechless, looking like I'd just pulled the rug out from under them. Dad opened his mouth but didn't know what to say. My mom just blinked, like I was speaking a language she didn't understand. "I'm done," I said, finally feeling the weight of it all lifting. "I'm done being the backup. Done being the one who gets ignored." I gestured toward the door. "Please leave." They didn't move right away. My mom opened her mouth again, but before she could start in on some guilt trip, Kyle stepped forward, holding an ice pack to his jaw from the slap Lisa had given him earlier. He didn't say anything at first, just looked at them with a calm expression that said everything. "Leave," he said, his voice quiet but firm. For a moment, my parents just stared at him, shocked at his audacity. Then they looked at me. I didn't flinch. I didn't back down. "I'll call you when I'm ready," I added, but even I wasn't sure if I meant it. My mom looked like she was going to argue, but instead, she just turned and walked out, Dad following behind her without another word. They left, but not before throwing one last disappointed look over their shoulders, like I was the one who'd broken everything. The door shut behind them with a finality that echoed in my ears. I stood there for a long moment, my heart racing, not sure if I felt relief or sadness. Kyle didn't say anything right away. He just walked over and set the ice pack down on the table. He didn't push me to talk, didn't ask if I was okay. He just stood there, solid and quiet, a steady presence I hadn't known I needed until now. I finally looked at him, and it was like I could breathe again. "Thank you," I said, my voice soft. He gave me a small nod, his gaze warm but unreadable. He didn't need to say anything. He was here. That was enough. For the first time in a long time, I didn't feel so alone. 2 years later, Kyle and I were married. A small backyard wedding with real friends. The kind of people who showed up because they actually wanted to be there, not because they were obligated. No parents, no Lisa. It wasn't fancy, but it was perfect. The sun was setting, the air warm but not too hot. Kyle stood beside me, looking just as nervous as I felt, but there was something in his eyes that told me he'd never been more certain of anything. When the ceremony ended, we kissed, and I realized that for the first time in my life, I wasn't carrying anyone else's weight. I never got the party money back. And I stopped caring about that the second I realized that what I'd paid for wasn't worth the cost. What was worth it was the quiet I found after walking away. Quiet that came with knowing who I was, who we were, without the constant noise of my family's drama. I haven't spoken to my parents since, not a single word. And honestly, I don't miss it. It's funny how something so big can feel so small once you step away from it. People still ask me about them, still ask if I regret walking away. They expect a tearful response, some softening of my edges, but I don't regret it. Not for a second. The silence is worth it. For the first time in my life, I'm not orbiting someone else's life. I'm living my own. And Kyle? He's my center. He's the one I don't have to share.